I'd like to call to order the Monday, June 13th, 2011 informational meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council. I'd also like to welcome all of those of you in the chamber today, and we have all of our councilors here along with council staff and our city attorney. We'll begin. We have a full agenda today, and so we'll begin with our city council staff report. Our city clerk, chief of council operations, Deborah Owen.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Sioux Falls City Council. For those who are watching, the clerk's office did not receive the Event Center progress update presentation, but there are plenty of those who are here to available at the desk over here. So if you want to have a copy of that, those are available to you, but those are not online. As soon as we receive that, we will put those online after the probably sometime tomorrow. In addition, for tonight's 7 o'clock agenda, which is a very full agenda, the amendments that are known to the clerk's office at this time are in your red notes. There will be motions to amend the agenda at the time when you adopt the regular agenda. There are a number of those to defer some of those items to either June 2nd or July 5th. In addition, there'll be at least one amendment coming on item number 3, which is the secondhand good dealers ordinance. Those are in your red notes. And the second reading on item number 4, which is the ordinance to appropriate money from for the capital budget. And there's an amendment there. And then also in item 17, which relates to that resolution, there are amendments there. If the council makes the amendment as proposed in 4, then those amendments on item number 17 for the CIP resolution would then need to be done. If the ordinance is not amended on item 4, then there would be no need to amend the resolution. And I believe that is all I have in terms of amendments. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Ms. Owen? If not, we will go on to City Council open discussion. And I will begin with a reminder. We have a work session coming up this Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. And I do promise the councilors that we will end by 6 p.m. If you have any agenda items that you would like to be added to that work session, please have them to me or Deborah by tomorrow at noon, and Councilor Erpenbach and I will be putting that agenda together. Also, for your information, I should have committee assignments finalized by next Monday, and so if you have any additional information that you'd like to share with me or any requests, I ask that you get that to me by the work session on Thursday. Further council discussion. Councilor Brown.
Thanks, Councilor Aguilar. Deborah already reminded us that we're in for a long night tonight, and all of us have received a large volume of emails beginning last week, and among them, several have been concerned about potentially some gamemanship amongst parliamentary procedure. I'm proud of the work that this council, this group has done together to this point and to date, and I'm confident that we won't have to deal with that, but let's make sure whatever the decision is tonight, that we can walk away from this table proud of how we conducted ourselves and the decorum that we had, and that all sides are heard and that it's a fair hearing. So I'm pleased with how this group has worked together, and I hope that we can continue to that tonight as we go into a long, long night, and tempers do flare as we get tired. So let's just be sure that we control that. That's it. Thank you.
Other open discussion items? If not, we will go on to presentations. Event Center update by Mayor Huther, and I understand that Director Cotter will begin the discussion.
Good afternoon, City Council members. Thank you for allowing us to provide you this monthly update. I'm Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. As we get started tonight, this will be a continuation of where we've been over the last 30 days. Building off last month's update, we have been through Phase 1, which is the site analysis, and that recommendation's been brought before you. There will obviously be much discussion tonight on on that. But we've continued to progress forward with the design team, and so tonight you'll hear more on the schematic design, the site development. The site development aspect we'll actually start with first, and Jeff Hazard with Koch Hazard Architects will take you through the parking plan in detail, of which you'd seen a portion of that last week with the highlight of McCart Field. And then Don Deflifts with St. Combs Deflifts will give you an update on where we're at today with schematic design of the facility. And then building off what Don has done, another strength of our team structure here is that we hired Mortensen Construction so that they could work side by side with the architects as they evaluate systems, so we can get the most for every dollar as this design moves forward. And then last, the mayor will close. And so tonight I'll bring up first Jeff Hazard. Jeff?
Thanks, Mark. I've got the exciting part. My goal is just to end with you all still awake for Don's part. We had an interesting task to perform in that we needed to provide all the necessary parking that was identified in the parking study while maintaining most of the fields at McCart Field. So, but it was felt that one field could be taken away from the 11 that are at McCart Field, and I understand that the McCart family is happy with that, that the Parks Department is happy with that approach. So we've ended up with 300, actually maybe I should be advancing that, there we go. We've ended up with 300 parking places at McCart Field versus the 750 spaces that we had shown there previously. So the question was, how do we recover those lost spaces so that we have enough spaces at this site to accommodate the event center? And just cutting to the bottom line here, we have managed to bring back almost all of those spaces. From 2000, at a 2,000-foot walk, we now have a total of 56 more spaces than we had at the end of our Phase 1 work. And at a 1,600-foot walk, we're now about 27 short of where we were at the end of our Phase 1 work. So just on average, we're about even with where we were at the end of our Phase 1 work. I'm just going to kind of run through some of these slides to give you an idea of how we accomplished that. This next slide shows the scope, sort of the overall scope of the revisions out at the arena site. We have the McCart, and all those areas of modification are shown in purple. We have the McCart Field area, which is an addition of 300 spaces. And we also have the advantage there now that we can combine it with the public parking adjacent to it to create a more efficient layout. So we've gained a few additional spaces there. And that's kind of shown in this diagram. What was previously about 66 spaces is now 96 spaces in that public surface lot. And we count those spaces at 75% of actual because they may be used for other purposes. So that's how it feeds into the ultimate spreadsheet. And we also worked with the Sioux Falls School District to identify a way to increase the amount of parking at their central services facility just to the west of the arena site, convention center site. And so we were able to find about 204 spaces there. It's actually an increase of 70 to 80 spaces on that site. And we're able to do that by making the green area adjacent to Western Avenue the same width as it is on the convention center side of the street, and adding about 50 or so spaces to the south and east of that central facilities building, along with a few other minor modifications. And looking at the actual convention center parking itself, one of the things that we're trying to accomplish with this reorganization of the site, in addition to finding more parking places, is to improve upon the circulation system out there. Right now, it's a little bit confusing when you enter the site from West Avenue. You come to a place where it looks like you have to stop, but you don't really have to stop. It's kind of a confusing intersection, so we're taking that street straight on through from west to western so that the clarity of circulation on the site is improved. As a part of that, the parking lot that's just west of the stadium, of Sioux Falls Stadium, is modified because we have a new drive running through there. That drive comes straight out to Western instead of kind of curving around the end of the convention center and then going out to Western. And so that lot's a little bit smaller than it was before. And then on the other side of that new access drive, we have another 102-space lot that is a possible location for VIP parking places for people that purchase suites and that sort of thing. So they have close-in parking for the event center. And then we've increased the quantity of spaces overall, the efficiency of these lots, by adding a few additional spaces around the perimeter. For example, there are more accessible spaces that we've added up next to the grandstand or the baseball park on the east side of that lot. And then we've turned the striping the long way so that when you get out of your car, you're walking, you have the aisles aimed toward the event center now, so that all the parking aisles aim toward the facility that will be used most or has the the greatest number of seats. So it enhances the pedestrian experience as well as increases the number of parking places. And looking on the other side of the stadium, we have that entry that I was talking about earlier coming off of West, comes around and curves a little bit more directly to the front of the convention center. We've enhanced the accessible parking. We've enhanced the walkways, sort of plaza entries that provide access from the parking into the convention center, so that it's a little easier for people to get from their car again to one of the entries into the complex. At the same time, we've added some parking in front of the Sioux Falls Stadium. It's sort of what I would call festival parking. It's parking that you can use it as parking when you have an overflow event at the event center, but when you just have a normal parking situation, that can be used for festival type activities at the ballpark. We've also increased the number of spaces that could be provided at the Sheraton Hotel by about 50. You can kind of see the foreground is the new, and the background you can kind of see where the green areas were, so you get a sense for how we've modified those areas. Then going to the north side of the convention center, on the right-hand side of this slide is Russell. You can see the convention center there. We've increased the number of spaces here by bringing those spaces in closer to the convention center. This is actually the biggest parking lot out there, and it's not near one of what are perceived to be major entrances to the convention center or arena. So by changing the striping of the parking and bringing the parking in closer to the north side of the convention center, there's that existing entrance between the arena and the convention center that we can use, sort of create a nice plaza there, make that more obvious as an entry into the complex, so that all the people that are coming from that parking lot can enter there as close as possible, so people are spending as little time as possible outside in the inclement weather. In addition, you can kind of see just to the west of that new parking area, we've sort of enhanced all of the loading areas for the convention center and the event center. We've created a bunch of new loading spaces for tractor trailers. We've added a bunch of spaces for buses. Apparently, when the big events come in, all the cast will stay in their buses on site, and so we're providing some spaces for all of those buses. And this is looking up toward the north end of Howard Wood Field and to the west of Howard Wood Field. We're adding a few spaces along Russell Avenue, just sort of continuing past the north end of Howard Wood Field. And then we're restriping the parking lot on the west side of Howard Wood Field so that, again, those aisles aim toward the event center. And we're moving the accessible parking from the middle of the parking lot over to the edge, which makes it a much safer arrangement for people in wheelchairs. So then sort of back to the core here, just the parking right around the event center. There's another 60, I think it says 60, can't read my own drawing here, 61 or 62 space lot just to the north and west of the event center. That is another lot that could be used maybe for staff sometimes during just regular days, but would also be another potential VIP lot at other times. We did meet with the ADA board this morning, presented all this to them, and I think they were, based on this preliminary discussion, pretty happy with what we were doing. The one thing that they suggested, which we'll incorporate into our next presentation, is to add more accessible spaces right up in the front of the convention center, in that parking lot right in front of the convention center, so that, and take a few spaces out of the more outlying parking lots so that the spaces are right there where people will find them most convenient. If there are no questions.
Questions for Mr. Hazard?
I'll turn it over to Don Deathless.
I have a couple.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Do we have a cost differential with the new parking plan?
Mortensen is working on the cost differential. I don't know exactly what it is. I believe this new plan is somewhat more expensive, and I think it's the result of more of the reconfiguration of the interior sort of streets that's being done as opposed to the actual parking itself, because the streets involve more curb and gutter and that kind of thing.
Okay. And I have one more question. You're now talking about using McCart Field number 9, I believe?
I'm not sure of the numbering.
Well, anyway, was that one of the original 5 that were going to be taken in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll turn it over to Don Deathless to describe the workings of the facility.
Thanks, Jeff. We wanted to take you through what we've been working on. We're halfway done through schematic design. We've been working on the basic floor plans. We've been meeting with staff. We've been meeting with the teams to get their input. As Jeff said, we met with the Accessibility ADA group today to get their input and kind of show them our basic strategy so this building can be very accessible. So what we're going to do is start very quickly on the ground level of the schematic design. In order to orient you to this plan, the white area to the right is the existing convention center, where on the very right you see the large exhibition hall, and then just to the left of the corridor you see there's 4 meeting rooms there. So the idea is we would keep those 4 meeting rooms and we would connect at this level. So the building is currently being designed so that on kind of the southwest side where it says entry, we would add a brand new entry that is directly attached to the existing convention center entry, and we would combine them so you can come in and either go into the convention center or you can go into the event center lobby. We would have tickets right there, so if you don't have your ticket, you can buy a ticket right there. Also, will call would be there. And then where the dotted line is right to the words to the right of main lobby, that would be a lobby that could be controlled. So if the event center isn't having an event, that can be shut off. If they are having an event, you just go through to the main lobby, they take your ticket there, and you go on upstairs. So the idea is what we're showing is the vast majority of the spectators will go to the upper concourse levels. We have 3 different concourse levels to get to their seats. And so the areas in brown to the left of the words main lobby are an escalator, stair, and elevator, and we also have an exit stair there that will get you emergency access from above. So that's one of the main lobbies. The other main lobbies we have are on the lower right, where you see the diagonal paving coming out. That would get you from one of the parking, or lower left, sorry, one of the parking lots over there. And the other one is directly above it from the upper left, and that gets you to the parking lot that's just off of Howardwood Field. So the idea is to bring people in from their parking lot quickly into the building, and again on that end, on the left end of the building, we have 2 stairs that are shown in brown, so you can go directly upstairs to the concourse level. So the vast majority of the time, the average spectator would just come into this building, go up elevator, stair, or escalator, and not use this floor. The people that would use this floor would be if you have floor seats for a concert, or if you're using this for the trade show event, and we'll come back and show you how the trade show event works and how it links in to the rest of the convention center. But the rest of the space, as you see it, is what we would call back of house and support spaces. We have the administrative offices, which are on this kind of southwest side, storage across a corridor. On the lower left, to the left, we have restrooms and concessions that serve the floor seating. We have potential for designated football locker rooms, basketball locker rooms, which is above that. And then we also have hockey and visitor locker rooms and star dressing rooms, as well as green rooms. And then the gray area right above where the cursor is a lot of the mechanical. We have boiler rooms, condenser rooms, compressor rooms, chiller rooms, and main electrical rooms and main telephone rooms there. And then on the upper right, we have a very large marshalling and storage area, much larger than is in the current arena, where, as Jeff said, we can back a lot of trucks in. We can actually drive trucks directly onto the floor, and we can also park a lot of tour buses, as well as have both a trash pickup as well as recycling. So all the kind of nitty-gritty back-of-house items are all back there directly next to the convention center service areas as well. And the idea is, one of the joys of the site was we are adding on to the commissary in a very minor way, but we get to reuse the commissary that exists for the convention center at the site, as we described before. In addition, on the lower right, there's 2 red rooms there. One is a roadie room and the other is a meeting room that can be used for multiple purposes, including adding meeting rooms to the convention center facility. So we augment that as well. So that's the ground level. But again, the average person is going to come in, take an escalator, stair, or elevator, and go on up to the next level. So this takes us up to the concourse level. And at the top of the stair or the escalator, you would land at a very large lobby here. And as you can see, the sand color kind of goes all the way around the building, and we have a concourse on the outside of the building that goes all the way around. Then on the inside, we have all the services that are going to serve the spectators, such as concessions, which are in green, women's and men restrooms and family restrooms, which are in the brown. And then we also have a private club, which could be semi-private or semi-public. The idea is you'd be able to go in that club. The 2 seating sections directly in front of it could be priority seating. It would have a bar. It could have a concession. It would have a direct view from that area over the seating bowl. And then if you continue around to the left on the very end, towards the left in the middle, where it says Public Club, we would have a similar experience there, where you have a large area where you can stand on the concourse and overlook the bowl and have food and concessions and beverage there. And then again, we continue the concourse all the way around. On the very far right, which is the right-hand side, and that is the stage end, when we set up a stage, we will also, all the way along that concourse where the tan seats are, we will also have a view to the bowl so you can see the action of what's happening. What you're seeing here is the basketball setup, and there's different setups on this multi-purpose building, so we'll show you the different setups in a second. But this is the main concourse, and this serves the majority of the people. And so the way it works is you go through a portal to your seat, and you can walk down to a lower bowl, or you turn around and walk up a little stair back up above. And so you're serving the majority of the seats, about 7,500 on this main concourse level. Then we go up one more level, and then you would have a private suite and club level. And the idea is to have private suites on each side that can be sold, both top and bottom in this diagram. And then on the left end, what we have is a whole series of loge seats that would be able to face the bowl there, as well as look out, and we're looking at options of doing balconies or not. And then finally, on the far right-hand side, we also have a corridor along there that would also have seats overlooking the bowl. So plus or minus, this level is serving about 1,000 seats when we add all the loge seats, all of the seats up there, as well as the suites. And there's flexibility on this because the seating section is the same about how many suites we want to add. We're showing a number here, but you could expand it or retract it depending on the final marketing need. They could continue further around to the west if we need to. So we have flexibility in how we do that on this building for the number of suites. And again, you can see to the right, the gray area is a roof that would be attached. That's a one-story part of the new arena we're adding, and that attaches our building to the convention center. So that is the suite level, and then we go up one more level, and this is the final public level. And again, you would be able to take escalators, stairs, or elevators to this. On this level, the idea is that the concourse goes 3/4 of the way around. It does not continue all the way around on the right hand or kind of northeast side. So what's happening here is we have a number of restrooms up here. We have all the portals to get with the seating. And then on this one, what we're currently showing is all of the food service being served by food carts up here, food and beverage carts, because the idea is the vast majority of events in this building will be the events only using the lower and the suite level bowl. This is really designed for big tournaments, big special events, big concerts. So we could debate how many dates a year that is, whether it's 12, 15, 20, but it's not the vast majority of the events in this building. So again, what you can see to the right is a roof that could be built out in the future if we need to add more seats. But that's the upper concourse level. And then the other thing you will notice as we presented to the accessibility group this morning is the areas in yellow are ADA seating locations, and those are distributed both horizontally and vertically. So we have some in center section, we have them down on the floor, we have them at the concourse, the suite level, and the upper concourse. So they're well spread out in the building, and they meet the ADA code as it is currently written. And then basically the entire building would be accessible from the counters of concessions to tickets, all 2'10". So we really designed this building to be accessible for everyone in the community and inviting to everyone in the community. Then we've got a section that shows you the verticality of the building. And again, what you've got are the 3 concourse levels, which will serve the bowl. And we will have really good seating angles for the widest variety of events in this type of building. Then we zoom in, and again, where we've got the blue and the gray are really the service functions as I described, and then you go up to the concourse, suite, and then finally the upper concourse. But you see all your views down, which are the sight line angles down to hockey and basketball, which are 2 of your key events in this building. Another section on the other side. Let me just take you through. And eventually we'll be doing, as we get through towards the end of schematic design, we'll be doing 3-dimensional renderings to show you exactly how this all looks, and that's really the next phase as we go through this. So again, because this building has to be very multi-purpose, what we're designing it is for a wide variety of events, and these are some of the key ones. What we're designing the maximum capacity for is what we've been told is basketball should be able to seat 12,000 seats. So you see the basketball floor on the event level with seats all the way around it, bringing people in close, very exciting environment, and then you can see the ADA seating locations in yellow. So that would be the large basketball event. We actually have a bigger event in here. If we did boxing or concert in the round, we'd be able to go up to 13,000. But basketball is what we're designing it at 12, and that gets you the 13 for those other 2 events. Then the other key issue for this is you have home teams that don't need the 12,000 all the time. So the other key attribute is how do you downsize this building and really make it comfortable for the smaller events as well as the larger events. So what you're seeing in the dotted red line is a curtaining system to really close off parts of the bowl so you don't see a whole empty bowl there, and we can size the arena venue on the event that is taking place. So we have a small basketball venue where pretty much what you're doing is seating, using the side seats as well as floor seating and banquet tables on the floor, plus creating a sponsorship area on the right or a kids zone also. Those are the two big choices. And this one gets you about 3,700 seats for a small basketball venue. Hockey large, when we take from the basketball seating down to the hockey, using the same configuration, we get about 10,450 as the maximum capacity for hockey. Then we can also downsize the hockey, which is what the home team wants, to be able to make a smaller venue for the home team. So again, by curtaining the upper bowl and not using the upper bowl at all, and then also curtaining both ends but creating seating areas and sponsorship areas, we're able to create a medium hockey size venue of about 4,600 seats, which again just creates a more intimate venue for a home team. If we wanted to go even smaller for something like a small tournament or high school or smaller event like that, we can redo the curtaining system and go down to about 3,400 seats. The other big event is rodeo, and we start pulling back some seats, and you can see the barrel racing setup on this, and we get about almost 6,000, 5,900 seats for the rodeo event here. The other big event, as we were describing, is the addition at the convention center to enhance the trade show and exhibition facility. So what we have here, the area in gray, not counting the connection, but just the open flat floor, is 30,500 square feet we would be adding to the convention center for trade show space, not counting any trade show booths we could put on the concourse, which we could do that as well. So this is just the open floor itself, 30,500. In addition, if we single load it like this, which is the diagram on the floor, we can get about 134 booths. If we double load it, which we would do for other shows, we could get about 180 additional booths. So you could have a separate trade show in here, or that could be linked to the big exhibition hall in the convention center, and they could act all as one big trade show. And then again, at the lobbies and the concourses, we can add additional trade show booths, 10 by 10s as well if we desire. So I wanted to show that event because I think that's crucial at that. And then finally, a few more. We got Disney on Ice, which the difference is when Disney comes on ice, they have a stage set up. So you curtain behind the stage, and then it's more of a proscenium setup. It's not set up like ice hockey. So that one will seat just under 5,000. The goal when we talked to Global Spectrum and SMG was they asked to make sure we could get 5,000 on Disney on Ice, and so we're designing the building around that. And then again, finally, the center stage show is your biggest event, and it would be this or boxing, where you take kind of the basketball setup, then you add additional floor seats right on the floor around the stage, and you get 12,800 with a mixing booth. So we're right under 13,000 as the absolute maximum capacity for this building in its current configuration. At end stage show, it's a little smaller because usually you've got a mixing platform on one side and a slightly bigger stage on the other, so just under 12 on the end stage configuration. One of the things I think we described last time, we have a very large telescopic seating section on the stage end, so we can pull it all the way back, and the stage can go all the way back to the wall. So if we do a curtaining system in front of the stage, like a lot of the shows travel, it gets you a lot of seats in front of the stage, which is our goal here, to get as many seats in front of the stage to create as big of a venue as possible if we're going to show these kind of seats, because that's really one of the main reasons you're building a 12,000 seat arena, is in order to maximize the big events and the concerts. So that's what we've been involved in. We're continuing to work with Mortensen, and now I'm going to have Dan from Mortensen describe what they've been working on for the cost, and then afterwards, when we finish off, we'll be available for questions then. Dan?
Thank you, Don. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dan Mells with Mortensen, and I have to tell you, this is really an exciting stage of the project. I tell people I absolutely love what I do. I get to build event centers and sports stadiums, and this is the 7th one that I've been involved in. And just seeing those floor plans, it's kind of hard to visualize some of it, but it's really starting to get exciting now as the building is really starting to take shape. Mortensen has been involved in assisting entities at this stage of the project towards a public vote, and I do want to comment that while there appears to be a lot of unanswered questions, we're further along in the process than most organizations are. When we get to the point where we're talking about individual seat counts and individual parking stalls and some of the details that we're talking about shows the due diligence that the city is putting forward and really thinking through this. And I just wanted to share that editorial comment. We are in the process of updating the cost model, as Don mentioned. So we are incorporating and evaluating all of the different systems, the structural systems, mechanical, enclosure, electrical, breaking each one down and studying it against the budget and against historical cost information, and then rebuilding it back up into a budget. We're also looking at a series of alternates that we can carry through the bid process. Should we get competitive bids on bid day, then we can buy off some of the additional alternates if funds are available. One of the challenges we're dealing with across the country right now is cost escalation. The two primary drivers of cost escalation right now are oil prices and structural steel. In 2011, we've seen a 3.5% escalation in construction costs already from January to date. We're predicting that 2011 overall will balance out at 4%. Indicators are now it might be a little bit higher than that. And in 2012, we're predicting that it could be as high as a 6% escalation, which you'd be a little surprised in the economy that you start to see this escalation. But what's happening is a lot of the manufacturing companies have downsized because of the economy, and now that construction is starting to pick up a little bit, they're afraid to upsize because they're afraid it'll go down again right away, so that because of supply and demand, they're just raising their prices instead of increasing the supply. So escalation is higher than what we thought, and probably what the city thought back when they established the budget. We are looking at the different site options, and studying the different costs of the different site options as well. So in summary, right now you're probably interested in knowing kind of where the costs are coming in. Right now we are anticipating that the costs are going to fall in the range of $100 million to $120 million, depending on the alternates. I realize that's a pretty wide range, but within those numbers are $10 million for both escalation and contingency. And I think those numbers are higher than what you might have seen before based on our recommendation. We feel those are appropriate numbers to carry at this early stage. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the mayor, and then we'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity to address the council and the people of Sioux Falls. This is incredibly exciting. When you watch things like presentations like this, and you look at the vision as presented by Don and Dan and Jeff, you can't do anything but get excited about this for our great city. And there is incredibly positive momentum in terms of making this a reality for our city of Sioux Falls. I wanted to touch on something that was just done last week in terms of showing positive momentum on this project. Right now, there was a poll that was done by Nielsen Brothers Polling, and they polled Sioux Falls registered voters. And I found that this was incredibly exciting. First of all, if you look at the top two numbers, they asked registered voters here in Sioux Falls whether they wanted to build a new event center at the Arena Convention Center site. 4 out of 10 of them said yes. They asked if they wanted to build a new event center downtown. 2 out of 10 said yes. And then whether an event center should not be built at all, certainly respect that. 1 out of 4 said no. We don't want to build a new event center for our town right now. And I think that's fair, and I certainly respect it for all different kinds of reasons, whether it be timing, whether they believe they wouldn't use it at all, or whether it's not even a prudent use of the taxpayer dollar. We certainly respect it. And there are still some folks, if you can imagine, after all this time, they are undecided. And we also have to certainly respect that. But we can make this happen. It has been consistent. During my campaign, I told all of you early on that I ran polls to find out what was the excitement level on this particular topic in Sioux Falls. I told you the vast majority of people, regardless of age, regardless of where they live, regardless of political party, and regardless of their sex, they were ready to vote yes for a new event center in town. Kello and Argus, they ran a poll to try to get a flavor for the excitement level about a new event center in this town. That poll showed that there was positive momentum, and now the last poll shows that 59%, and yes, they don't all agree on every aspect of this particular event center, such as they don't agree on the site location. But right now, 6 out of 10 are at least ready to move this project forward and vote yes. 25% again, yes, don't want to build it, and there are still 16% that are undecided. The thing to remember is that we're not going to have unanimous vote when it comes to the people of Sioux Falls. But we don't need 7 out of 10. We don't need 6 out of 10. We need 5 out of 10 plus 1, 50% plus 1 of the voters in this town to have a new event center for our city. But before that occurs, and before we bring forth a recommendation to the City Council to move this project forward, there is more work to do. But we've come a long way, Sioux Falls. We've come a long way, City Council. And yes, it hasn't always been easy, and it hasn't always been fun. And yes, we've received a lot of emails back and forth. But we're making progress. We have never been this far before, Sioux Falls. You know, I presented to you my vision. You folks were kind enough to help move this project forward by approving some funding so that we could hire the experts to add more meat to the bone. We did hire those experts, and they did present the results. And in fact, they continue to present those results even today. I gave you my recommendation on the site, and tonight all of you will provide your own recommendation on the site. But it doesn't end there. Over the next 45 days, what we plan to do is talk even more about what I consider the most important puzzle piece, and that's the financials and the funding. Tracy Turback and some of you, as well as others, will help us do just that. We're going to continue to work with Dan and Don and Jeff and others to work on that design, the functionality, and yes, hone down those cost estimates. And we're going to talk even more with the people of Sioux Falls about why we believe that this is such an important investment for our great city. And I strongly believe, Sioux Falls, that tomorrow we will ramp this up to a level like you can't believe. And in most cases, some of you have been waiting for that ramp up to occur. Well, I believe that tomorrow it will occur. And I'm very, very excited for that to happen. We are going to communicate also with you, City Council, and just kind of give you a flavor. June 20th, Darren Smith will present a report on the naming rights analysis that you folks were kind enough to help fund. On June 27th, as we told you, we are going to talk about the capital improvement plan or program for our city. And as Councilor Brown insisted, and we agree, we are going to include the proposed event center to all of you. That doesn't mean, again, that it's a locked and loaded deal that you folks in the city of Sioux Falls are going to vote yes, but Councilor Brown insisted on it, and we agree. It's the right and the prudent and responsible thing to do. We'll do that in a couple of weeks. I am going to have a question and answer session with the city of Sioux Falls again. And then we'll provide another monthly event center update, just like the one we're giving today on July 11th, and another Q&A session with me and some others. There are a number of puzzle pieces. There certainly are. We're getting closer every week that we address this topic. and we'll continue to move this process forward. Again, I want to thank you for your time. We do want to answer any questions that you have. We've got some great resources to help us with that. But Council, we're at your beck and call. What type of questions do you have for us?
Questions from the council. Councilor Rolfing.
Dan? No. Don. I'm sorry, Don.
Design, not cost.
Design, not cost, right. On your slide on our page 4, the one that shows the first one with the
We'll go backwards here. Is it an event?
Nope, keep going. The one that has the first slide showing the way back.
Way back.
Very first slide you got.
Okay, first level.
One of the yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah.
One of the first things you said in the parking analysis is that one of the largest parking lots is the one just north of with 872 parking spaces north of Howard Wood Field.
Yeah.
And you were trying to get it close so that people could get in there. Then I look at this design, and I see no entrance in that northwest.
Yeah, let me go
deal
back to show the ones Jeff did to show you how it all works. So, if you look at this, the idea is
let me catch up with you here.
okay.
I got it. It's one
So
right back
really
of it.
what we have are 4 to 5 entries, and that was one of the differences about this building because it is a complex. So just for the event center, if you look straight up, kind of from
Straight
the west
north.
area, yeah, what we've got there is that's an entry that will get us to the parking lot across from the school district and just kind of west of Howard Wood Field.
Right.
Then straight to the left, we get to the 102, the 484, and the ones at McCart Field. If
Right.
you go down to right to the convention center,
Right.
we're linking all the ones around the stadium and the current convention center parking lot. And then finally, the one you're asking about is the idea is that as you see all of the parking on the upper right lot, just to
they're gonna
the
come in
lower
down.
right of Howard Wood Field, what we're doing is we're letting people circulate through the lot. We are actually letting them in at the back of the arena so
Got
they
it.
can get in quick and then go down the concourse. So the idea, because a lot of the events in the event center are in the winter when it's cold and icy,
it.
let them in, get them out of the cold, let them walk down the concourse and then into the arena so they link into where the cursor is shown into the main entry and they all come up the escalators.
Got it. I didn't see an entrance there
Yeah.
on that northwest.
Yeah,
and
we're
that's what I-
using the old arena entry and just, as Jeff said, focusing it more so it's a little more clear that becomes a main entry to the complex in total.
Thank you. That makes some sense.
Okay.
Additional questions? Councilor Brown.
Several areas, Mr. Mayor, I have some questions for you. Thank you for taking them, by the way. First of all, can you explain to me that the field that was chosen, I believe field number 9 from McCart Field, why that field instead of one closer to the convention center site?
And I can't answer that. Councilor Brown, I apologize. I'm not the expert on parking, so I'll leave that to Mr. Hazard.
Don't go away. I have more for you, though, Mayor.
Sorry, I took my jacket off. The reason we chose that one was because it was sort of the odd field out. It's a little bit further away, but also because of its adjacency to the other parking lot there, it allows us to create a more efficient lot, which gains an extra 30 or so spaces.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to continue down the parking path, Mayor. On the downtown side, there was a clear assessment of the public, the private, the leased parking. But nowhere in the reports did I see the 20-year lease for the Canaries and Pheasants addressed, which sits right in the footprint of the arena. I can't imagine that they're excited about giving up that prime parking. Do you know why that was not addressed in the report?
Well, I'm sure that, the Canaries don't have baseball games, or you mean the Pheasants?
Pheasants,
Yeah,
yes.
there we go. Thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you. The Pheasants don't have baseball games certainly every day, and when they do, there will probably be an occasion where there's going to be a conflict or major events happening at the same time. But I don't believe that the Pheasants parking situation is that major of an issue that it would impair us to move this project forward.
So we'll probably have to redo that lease agreement, I assume?
I Councilor Brown, I'm not sure. I think that with all of the tenants that we have out there, whether it be the Stampede, whether it be the Pheasants, whether it be the Skyforce or the Storm, I would expect that after a new event center is built, if we make that happen for the city, that all of them would have the opportunity to re-review their leases. And so, yes, I would expect that would occur.
And then also on parking, now, today when events happen at that facility, the Sheraton blocks off the hotel parking. Do we have some sort of agreement or lease with them as well? And how are we going to open that up to make sure that attendees can park in there instead of hotel guests only?
And Councilor Brown, as I was watching this presentation today, that same thought came to my mind. There are times where I've actually wanted to park out there, and there's been a attendant there urging people not to park there. I cannot answer that question for you today. I do not know what the rules are or the policy is with the Sheraton. Maybe, Jeff, maybe you do? Thank you.
I guess I don't. Could you? We increased the number of spaces in that lot, but we haven't really reviewed that yet with the hotel. We're only counting those spaces at 60% right now because that's a private lot, just as we are all the other private lots in the area. They're being counted at 60% of their actual number of spaces. There are a couple ways that we could deal with that. We could create a separate entrance into that lot in order to separate the number of spaces that they currently have from the additional spaces so that those additional spaces become part of the irregularly available event center parking. Or we could, as was suggested, create a new agreement with them that somehow changes where that blocking off occurs. We're still very early in the process, and I probably shouldn't say this, but we're just, even since these slides were prepared, we found another 20 or so spaces, ways that we could achieve another 20 or so spaces out there. So it's a work in progress still, and that some of those issues I think still need to be resolved.
Okay. And then next
Counselor,
week,
if I may,
yes.
I think that's a perfect example, and I apologize to interrupt. I think it's a perfect example to show you. I'm still learning on this journey as well. I think there's been an impression that as the mayor, I've been involved in every piece of this puzzle. I've not. That's why we hired the experts, is to help us through this journey so that we can do it the right way. And Mr. Hazard, if there's ever any additional parking spots you want to tell the people about, don't hesitate. Councilor Brown, please.
And now, this isn't a question, but I do have a couple other questions. I would just ask that information be provided unilaterally to the council on issues. Some councilors were privy to what was going on with McCart Field. Others of us didn't know about it until just before the news conference. And I think it's important with this body that we all get that information at the same time. It helps in making sure that there isn't confusion over the issues. So more of a statement there than a question. And then I wanted to ask, who paid for the Nielsen Brothers poll?
You'll have to call Nielsen Brothers.
Okay. You and I discussed the methodology behind that. Do you want to talk about that?
Again, I'm not a polling expert. I'd urge you to call Nielsen Brothers.
Well, they put in their news release that they did 550 random registered voters versus frequent city election voters. There's a big difference in that. And Mr. Arndt, who was the lieutenant governor candidate, sent an email to the council as well saying that this is the same firm that put them within 3 points of winning the governor's election when in fact it was 23 points off.
And again, Councilor Brown, I'm not going to defend one poll or the other or their techniques. It's their firm.
Right.
What the point I was bringing up was, regardless of whether it's the Nielsen Brothers poll or the poll that I did with the firm that I used during my campaign, or whether it was the Argus and Kellerland poll, it's been consistent. The consistency is that the people of Sioux Falls are ready to move this project forward. That's consistency. Where I come from, if there's a trend, you can't ignore the trend, and the trend is that the people of Sioux Falls, the majority of them, at least 50% plus one, are ready to move this project forward. In terms of the Nielsen poll, my recommendation is if there's another entity out there who is willing to put together a poll, let's go for it. I have talked with Randall Beck at the Argus Leader. The Argus, I guess, is getting ready to do their own poll. I was incredibly excited about that. I'm aware that from emails that I received that there was another poll that was done later on. I'm as excited as anybody to find out who did that poll and what were the results of that poll. But basically, you take the numbers as you get them, and I guess I have to respect Nielsen Brothers for, number one, doing the poll. They're a lot more expert at it than I am, and I think probably you as well, Councilor Brown. And so we take it for what it's worth, and we move forward. One thing I can assure the people of Sioux Falls, the city of Sioux Falls has not, will not do any polling. It's not the right thing to do, and I think it's actually, I don't even know if it's legal.
Right. And then I had a question on the price tag, the $100 to $120 million with the contingency. Now that is just for the building itself, right? Not all the parking we're talking about?
From what I understand, and I think, Dan, we'll have you come up, that is all encompassing, all of the parking, all of the F&E, all of that. But I'm going to let Dan verify that for you versus me.
Thanks for asking that question. That's an important distinction. There's construction cost and there's project cost. Construction cost is just the bricks and mortar to build a building, and then project cost includes that plus soft costs such as FF&E, design costs, parking, contingencies, escalation, and so forth. The number that I quoted is the all-in project cost.
Okay.
Includes all of those.
And $10 million of that is a contingency?
Contingency and escalation.
Okay.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions? Councilor Karski.
If for Dan, I guess, or I'm sorry, yeah, Dan. Can you break down the construction cost and the project cost to two different numbers? Do we know what those numbers are?
Yes, I can go get. I mean, we're still working on them in ranges because we're looking at so many different systems and pulling all the pieces together. So it's in ranges, but I'd have to go.
Okay. And the reason I asked that question, you're talking 4 to 6% inflationary factor on construction costs, which obviously wouldn't be then a percentage of the entire project cost.
Right.
And that $10 million cost escalation factor is built into the total cost. Is that?
Well, the escalation calculates just on the construction cost and the FF&E. So it's a little over $4.5 million for the escalation. And then the contingency is just a flat $5 million number for contingency is what we're recommending at this stage.
I'm curious to hear what the numbers are, if you've got them.
Yeah. Let me pull them up.
While he's getting his numbers, Don, can I ask you a question? You said that that additional seats could be built out on the roof.
Yep.
How many additional seats would that be?
The goal, end of slideshow. Basically, we're looking at about 2,000 to 3,000 because we base this similar to on our Winnipeg building. There's a lot of similarities, not exactly, obviously, it's very unique to Sioux Falls. But if we would go to a 360 bowl, we're looking at options of how to do that, and it's probably about another 2,000 or a little over. We'd have to do the final count. Because there's been some question, do we want to have the ability to add on? So that again still needs to be determined. Do we want to be able to do that for Sioux Falls, or do we want to keep it on this capacity? When we've done the bigger buildings, just so everyone realizes, when we go to that, the real key is, like for similar projects like in Winnipeg, they had a minor league hockey team, and we designed it in case they ever got the NHL back, which everyone thought zero chance. Well, they got the NHL back. So in that case, it's a big sporting event, and for the 360 in the round, then you need that big capacity. In this case, all it would add to Sioux Falls is the ability to do a big sporting event for like regional tournaments, which would be a nice thing. But it doesn't really add any seats for the concerts when you curtain in front of it. For a 360 concert, it would, but not when you curtain in the front of the stage. And probably, we could ask SMG, but I would guess more than 50% of the people, touring acts these days, do the curtain right in front of the stage. So we'd have to say, is it worth it to design that into it, and is it a good payback? And I think that's what we'd love to get input and take council through and help us make those choices as we proceed. Yeah, and that would work for basketball as well. So,
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Councilor Aguilar, if I may, that was probably another example of finding that common ground to help move this project forward. If you remember in the prior two task force groups, there were some out there who wanted it to be at least 15,000 for a variety of reasons, and they were legitimate reasons. Then there were others who said, no, it should be 8 to 10. And in what the presentation that I gave is I think we should find that kind of sweet spot that has been recommended by the experts, and that was the 12. But there are people like Mike Sullivan who is trying to engage this community to tackle even more and bigger and more exciting events, such as a major basketball tournament. Well, here we found that common ground. We found an ability to still make that happen without incurring the additional expense now. Also, you've heard from very, very engaging leaders in this community. We are 156,000 people strong today. But what happens when we're 250,000? Have we built ourselves a facility that's already obsolete or too small? This provides us that ability to continue to grow this facility so that we can meet the needs not only of this generation, but for generations to come.
Thank you. Dan?
To answer your question, I think to keep it simple, the separation between construction costs and project costs, construction costs are falling in the range of about 80 to 82% of the overall cost. So on a $100 million program, the construction cost would be in the $80 million range, and on $120 million, it would be just over $100 million range. I think that's a general overview. Okay.
Councilor Erpenbach.
Mr. Mayor. Oh. I just want to follow up. I can't hear myself. There, okay, that's
Sound
better.
good.
Can't hear myself talk. Question about that vision piece that you're talking about,
Yes.
that we know, we have looked at population increases. We know what's coming down the pike, whether we try to control it or not. Sioux Falls is going to grow immensely in the next few years.
Yes.
The rate depends on economy, blah, blah, blah. My question then is, if this vision that we're looking at today, all these drawings were to actually become an event center that's attached to the existing convention center, which is too small. We know that it's too small for many of the existing things that we want to do. What's your vision for that 10 years down the road or that 20 years down the road when we need bigger convention space? We've got this great event center there. What do you see happening for convention space?
I think, as Don mentioned before, is that one of the real exciting things about attaching this brand new event center to our existing convention center and arena site is that we do kill two birds with one stone by doing that. And the thing that I'm intrigued by is that it will generate an additional 30,500 square feet for those conventions that we can't bring into town today, and it will capture the attention of some of those large conventions that we've only dreamt about, such as Pheasants Forever. That is the big daddy of them all. And as you saw from a news release just last Friday, we can capture the big daddy, or at least have a better chance of capturing the big daddy, called the Pheasants Forever Convention, by doing this thing here. Again, I can't speak for what conventions are going to be like 20 years from now, Councilor Erpenbach, when we are 250,000 people strong. But I do like our chances after we attach this 30,500 square feet facility to our existing facility a lot better than I do right now.
If I could just continue, if we can put away the pheasants forever, the big daddy idea, because we don't know that that's for real. That is a chance, but we don't have anything from them at this point that says that they would actually do it. And we don't know that we're going to be big enough for them anyway. And we don't know that people can afford to fly in here to come to the big daddy event.
Well, we can find every excuse why, why that won't happen.
But I want the question to go beyond that.
Yes.
Let's look 10 years down the road, when the existing convention center and the existing arena are still standing there the way that they are right now. And 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, or whenever that is, what is your vision, Mr. Mayor, for how we accommodate not only a larger community that needs a larger convention center, but potential larger conventions that we don't have any idea what they are? They're the, whatever. How do you see it right now as working out, not just 5 years from now, but 10, 15, 20 years from now?
I think we've addressed that with the recommendations made by the experts as well as by my recommendation. I think that by attaching this event center to the existing facility, by making this investment in not only additional convention center space, but also providing a venue for some major events that we can't get today, it will meet the needs of the city and the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I believe, 10 and 15 years from now. I can't speak 50, I can't speak 25, but I believe that we have and are making the right investment that will take us at least 10 to 15 years from where we are today.
Thank you.
Questions from the council? Councilor Jameson.
Mayor, do you have, or somebody, the cost estimates at all for the parking improvements out at the Arena Convention site, as proposed today on your presentation?
Mark.
We haven't finished doing the detailed cost estimates. We did a first pass, and the cost for parking stalls compared to the McCart site, is that what you're referring to?
Not necessarily comparative, just as you've outlined it today, what would be the cost to do that?
Of all of the work? Oh, of all of the work on the site? Oh, okay. It's about $5 million for all of the work within the curb line of that existing site. That includes parking, roadways, lift stations, utility relocations, everything that needs to happen on that site.
And did you, I mean, I don't think I'm missing any pages on this presentation, but you didn't do any work reworking downtown, did you? You just worked on this site.
Back when we did the site comparison, we did some estimates for what it would take to do that work on that site as well.
But you haven't revised it or reworked it or tried to fix it or do anything with
No.
that? Was there a reason for that? Were you instructed only to focus on this site, or was there just...
After the, Councilor Jameson, I'll try to answer that. After I presented my recommendation to the City Council, it was Councilor Erpenbach, along with a couple of others, soon after that, Councilor Anderson Jr., who expressed some real reservations with the solution that we had outlined for the potential parking. Hearing that from Councilor Erpenbach and from Councilor Anderson Jr. and others, we felt the prudent and responsible thing to do would be not waste any more time, but begin to analyze alternatives. And so that's why we did that. And we're very, very pleased with the results. And I think we found, again, some common ground or some compromise that makes most, if not everybody, happy.
Okay, one other question on the designs I see here. I don't see any attached to the Sharapa place. Is there a reason for that as well?
Same rationale. After I presented my recommendation to the council in terms of moving this project forward, in all honesty, we felt that we would get at least probably a semblance of how to proceed from the council soon after that. Again, not having that occur, it's now 30 days later, we didn't want to just wait and do nothing. That wasn't prudent use of our time. We didn't feel it was a responsible thing to do. So at a minimum, we wanted to continue to move this process forward and at least get what I had recommended more in sync or more concrete in hopes that eventually we would move this project forward for the people of Sioux Falls.
Councilor Brown?
We don't want to, Mayor, just attract conventions here once. We want repeat business. So paint me the vision again for that 15, 20 years. What's it going to look out there beyond that building?
I think it's going to be incredibly exciting. And let me kind of give you a flavor for what I believe we're going to be in 15 to 20 years. And in fact, I don't think it's going to take that long. Let me just take you 5 years from now. 5 years from now, here's what our city is going to look like. I strongly believe, as you know, that the new event center should be built at the Arena Convention Center site. I do, for all of the reasons that have been outlined by the experts and more. I don't want to talk about that today. And I'm not going to talk about that tonight. I'll give you, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I think you'll all prefer that. I've made my case. Whether you agree with it or not, I've made it. But let me take you 5 years from now, how exciting this city is going to be. Not 15, 5. About a mile away from the Arena Convention Center site, where hopefully we'll have the new event center built in 2014. About a mile away, we're going to have one of the most incredible sports complexes that you can imagine that any city will have. It's called the Sanford Sports Complex. Football, basketball, tennis, hockey will be a mile away from the proposed site. 1.6 miles away. That's about a 5-minute drive for most. 1.6 miles away in downtown Sioux Falls. Here's what you're going to see. You're going to see unbelievable development occurring in downtown Sioux Falls. You're going to see a river greenway project that will continue to go to the south to create an environment where we can dine, work, play, and reflect. You're going to see, hopefully, that eyesore of a river ramp tore down. And I hope that you've got a brand spanking new hotel and conference room sitting there. By 2014, I hope we have those dang railroad tracks gone. And I'm going to bust my tail to make that happen. As long as the government works with me, we can make that happen. And that'll create unbelievable development. And we will spur on development 1.6 miles away from this location in downtown so that we're all celebrating with the great things that are happening in downtown Sioux Falls and more. So what do I see happening? I see a city that is rocking and rolling, Councilor Brown, not just in downtown, not just at the Arena Convention Center site, but all over. Whether it's the mall, whether it's Dolly Farm, whether it's the Sanford Sports Complex, whether it's the north side, the east side, this city is going to be rocking and rolling, and it's going to be due because of the investments that we made, because of the vision that we had, and because of the leadership of this council, and yes, this mayor. We can make that happen.
What will convention goers be able to walk to?
Councilor Brown, what will convention doors be able to...
Goers.
Oh, goers. Okay, thank you.
Convention attendees. What
Very
will
good.
they be able to walk to from this site?
Well, right now, from this site, very simply, much bigger events than they can today. Many more events than they can today, and simultaneous events that they can today, as well as, you talk to people like Terriella Schmidt, there are people that she can't even go to today because our facility doesn't have the capability to do it. I think what we'll be doing, we're going to have people that have never come to this city before enjoying not only the amenities, but enjoying the people of Sioux Falls. And guess who reaps the rewards? We all do. Downtown, Dolly Fields, the Empire Mall, we all do. It's going to be an exciting time. I can't wait to get some more conventions here in our city, and that'll happen. We had an event happen just this weekend. Volunteers of America. For the very first time, Volunteers of America came to a convention in Sioux Falls. And for the very first time, they came to a city that was less than 1 million people strong. Volunteers of America I believe, is dying to come back because of the reception, because of the amenities, because of the people that we already have here today. Councilor Urbanbach, I certainly respect, you're exactly right. Pheasants Forever has not come to Sioux Falls yet. We build this new event center out at the Arena Convention Center site. I like our odds. I'll take our odds any day. Who in the world wouldn't want to have the Pheasants Forever in the pheasant hunting capital of the world? Who wouldn't? Their minimum at VOA was 1 million people or more. That was their minimum. Well, they came to a town with 156,600 people, and they had the best time they've ever had. And they had it at the Arena Convention Center site.
Just one more question. Regardless of which site it is, we've had a lot of discussion about the need for extra hotels. Do we have a plan for where an extra hotel would go on that arena site?
Well, I don't want to speak for the developers or for the investors.
But we would probably have to play a role in helping find that.
And I can't wait. And Darren Smith can't wait. And Mike Cooper and Erica Beck can't wait.
So there is no plan at this point.
Well, there are developers and there are investors who have said that if and when a new event center is built at the Arena Convention Center site, they are ready to make that next leap forward. Personally, if it were me, I think one of the things that we should certainly consider and certainly work on is finding a way to get a hotel right next to Elmwood Golf Course. I mean, to me, that's a little visionary, and it's something that should be done. That's just one location, but I believe that there will be more.
Other questions from the council? I have one more for Don. And this may be a strange question, but I can't, the slides are not, my vision does not work. You talk about that you're going to have varied entrances.
Yep.
So will there be escalators? How many escalators? How many
So
elevators?
that's one of the
will there be?
options. That's one of the reasons we have the 100 million, 120. Those are all the kind of options we're talking about. But what we're looking at now is at least one escalator let's go back to that plan. So we've got at the main, what we call the main entry, which again, you can come in any side. But on the southwest entry, right now we have an escalator up to the concourse. We may go to 2. We've got an escalator from the concourse to the suite, and then we have an escalator from the suite level up to the upper concourse. There is discussion about would it be better also to add an escalator over on the north side from that way as well. So those are kind of some of the options we're really looking at and saying, because the vast majority of people, again, remember, are going up to the main concourse. That's the key, is to get them up to the main concourse. And you'll have far fewer events with people going to the upper concourse.
In similar projects that you've done, how many would you put in a design
Similar
like this?
number to this, and it really comes down to the budget. I mean, what we said on this building to make people comfortable, there really should be 3 escalators minimum to create a good building. 6 would be ideal. So that we're debating between the 3 and the 6, and we're probably going to end up at 4 to 5. And those are the kind of choices we have. Again, we'll take everyone through those final choices on the numbers, but it's that versus the finishes. There's just 100 questions about each, and so that's why we have to finalize it versus the numbers.
When you talk about the finishes, have you started looking at the design for the exterior?
Yes, we have. We're not ready to show it yet, but we're getting pretty excited about it. So it's going to look good, we believe, and we're working through that with the numbers, Jeff and ourselves, back and forth. So we're both pretty excited about it, but it's not rendered, it's not there yet. So soon we will be showing that if this is the site. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Councilor Aguilar, if I may, just to add maybe just a sense of levity before tonight's event. And again, this will be the last time I'm going to talk about site location for the next I don't know, is it going to be 8 hours, Councilor Urpenbach? We'll see. One of the things I'm incredibly excited about, and we're not going to build a new event center just for this reason, but I thought I'd add a little levity. To the women of Sioux Falls, we are going to have more women's bathrooms. If you look at this on every floor, it's amazing. Just to kind of give you a flavor for just where we were 50 years ago and where we're at today. For those of you who have ever attended an event at the Sioux Falls Arena, and if you are a woman, you know how many options you have to go to the bathroom at the Sioux Falls Arena. Take a look at your options with the new event center. 50 years have gone past. It's time to keep up with the times, and yes, that includes even those little things like women's bathrooms.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Urpenbach.
If I might just not characterize women's bathrooms as the little thing.
Oh, no. Thank you, Councilor Urpenbach. Thank you.
I asked Councilor Karski, have you ever stood in line at a women's bathroom at an arena or anything like that? I'm sorry, I realize you guys are really smart because you've got more women's than men's, but it needs to be about 2 to 1. And I'm not kidding.
One of the things that we actually talked about today, in all seriousness, is that we are going to try to be prudent and responsible with the taxpayer dollar. But I think it's been made very clear, not only by this council, but also by the Event Center Task Force before us, that we don't want to just cut corners to make a certain dollar. This needs to keep us going, not only for this generation, for generations to come. But Councilor Urpenbach, we had a very frank discussion about women's bathrooms today. And I have been told in no uncertain terms, Don, Dan, Jeff, that we will have a very, very solid number of women's bathrooms. Is that correct, men? You have lots and lots. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you. And this meeting will be adjourned.